Yo, what's happening? It's your boy Mocha here. And today we are going to be going over a remake of Supadupakulavibe by Griz. This song's off his new EP, Bangers 3. And it's just a gnarly bass tune that's infused with some funk and old school vibes as well. Griz is like the pioneer slash guru of if you see this, Griz, shout out Griz. You rock. Anyways, this is not an exact remake, but my goal was to learn something behind trying to dive in what he was doing. And I definitely learned a lot, so I'm hoping that you guys could as well. And I'm just going to give you a little preview here of what she sounds like. So yeah, I had a blast making it. Again, it's not exactly the same as his. It's just inside the ballpark. This is what his sounds like. So, you know, this is ours. But anyways, I'm just hoping to give you some good insight of what's going on in the song, and you know, I learned a bunch from it too. So anyways, I'm just going to start with the drums. As far as the pattern goes, I literally just copied his, so that's really not what I'm going to be focusing on here. I just want to talk about sample selection. Most of these sounds, I think, are from Somatics. Shout out Somatics. I use them, and they're free, and it just is great. So here's what it sounds like. You know, there's a lot of ways to process your drums and organize them. For me, I just put them all in separate MIDI tracks, and I grouped them all into one big drums group. And on that group, I have a parallel compressor, which is honestly a preset. It's just a glue compressor, drum full parallel, and then some saturators to like kind of make it pop and save me some headroom. So once you get the drums down, again, try to like, you know, A and B that song so you can pick out good samples from the get-go, because that's just going to be the biggest thing, I think. I could probably even pick out better ones, but sometimes after scrolling through 80 snares, you're probably just going to pick the one that kind of caught your ear the first time. So that's what we did here. And then for the leads slash like the basses, they were tricky. They were very tricky. And this is what they sound like together. So yeah, it's basically comprised of, or composed of, or whatever, of 3 elements, which is just this top one, middle one, and bottom one. The bottom one is just a low detuned saw, and I've noticed a lot of his sounds seem to be like kind of based off that. Give a little flavor in there. So that's really it for the bottom one. For the middle one, I actually found this sound in the presets inside of Serum under the lead section. I modified it just a little bit. And the reason why I think I like it so much is because if you notice, it's just a triangle and a square wave. And the square wave is up 7 semitones from this one. And it's like basically like the 5th in your chord. Anyways, it creates this cool sound. All I did was make the LFO different on this to like line up with our song. And here's what it sounds like. I feel like it's the big core of the sound itself. And so that was like pretty dang close, and I knew he had like a high lead like piercing through. So I just created like a square thing. Like this one is a regular square, but this one, well, has unison and it also has a sync. So it makes it almost sound like a higher octave, even though it's not. And so for the first part where it's like, so it's I literally just duplicated all these three main components of this lead sound, and I took the LFOs off of them and just pitched it down on the first drop, and it got pretty dang close to the original, so I kept it, and that's really all the first hit is, and then the rest is just the continuing leads of them. And then we have this like talking bass that's like FM squelchy sounding, but it kind of talks and like does its own little patterns and stuff. So that one I actually made, and it's just I think a square, and it's got like an FM wavetable. Yeah, so shout out to Maddox again. There's an FM wavetable 11 if you got that pack. And just FM'd on a square wave. Really, that's about it. At the same LFO or like whatever rhythm we were doing. And then I pitch bend it down here. And yeah, that's kind of like the basics of the drop. It sounds like this one more time. And I forgot, the 808 goes along with the notes inside of the bass line, and it's pretty simple. It's like not like a super fat distorted 808, at least for this part. It's just a sine with a nice envelope shape, and then some distortion and compression, and that's pretty much it for the sub bass. There's vocals in here too. Again, disclaimer: I'm not a singer. I feel alive. So that's just me shouting, I feel alive, but I got some cool processing on the vocals. I put like a slight little auto-tune. It's like a free thing. It doesn't even sound that good, but I'm like that bad of a singer that I need to like put on half pitch correction and, yeah. And then I put an OTT for some like distortion squelchiness, and then again like pushing it hard again in that distortion range, because that's kind of what the sound was coming out with Griz. Did a compression and a cleanup EQ and a reverb and delay. That's pretty much it for the vocals, but it turned out pretty sick. It sounded something like that. I feel alive. So that's pretty much that. And then like for the verse, I did different. I just like eased up on the same effects, so it wasn't so harsh. But so yeah, that's it pretty much for the drop. And I really enjoyed making that. I learned a lot, and it's not exact, but it came pretty dang close, and I'm pretty stoked on it, and it was super fun. And then everything besides there is kind of like, guitar and natural instruments with some builds in there. He's got this one part at the end where he goes like total old school hip hop vibes and like puts some like vinyl warmth in there. And I got close to remaking that too. Sounds a little something like this. So yeah, not perfect, but anyways, let's dive into it. For this, I just created a nice swung hip-hop beat, the same thing as him, and I got a new old school sample with like a little more warmth on it, which I think is like comes with Ableton, like Captain Rock snare. Changed up the hi-hat pattern a little bit over here, and then the chord progression like slightly changes, like it's the same chords, just rhythmically it's slightly different, and so I just recorded that. That was the first thing I did with the drums. I've got some vinyl warmth here too, and it just adds to that whole effect at the end there. It's basically just guitar, drums, and then vocals with the same vocal processing. So just humming that same progression. Turned out super sick, though. I love the way he incorporates it. And then the intro is pretty much similar, except the drums are pretty much building the whole time. So it's just some guitar, some vocals, and the drums are building, and he kind of like does like a filter up, you know, EDM, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But this is what I got. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. He's got like a verse that's like hyper in here. And like, again, I'm not a rapper or a singer, but it sounds something like this, where he kind of chops up the guitar riff and makes it a little funky and more interesting right here. Well, guys, thanks for rocking with me today. Appreciate all of you.